Hey, what's up? This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. Welcome to the channel. If you're familiar with this channel, you know that I oftentimes post content here that can help you level up your music production skill set. And I also have beatacademy.com, which goes further in depth on doing exactly that. So this next video is a lesson taken from one of my Beat Academy course libraries that focuses on a Beat Academy member who was really struggling to figure out how to add extra production, or more importantly, how to get their vision from their head to the finished product. And I was able to come alongside, help her do exactly that. And so I wanted to share this video with you. And if you want to learn music production and want to learn from somebody who's been doing it for 22 plus years, then join Beat Academy. I have a bunch of free resources there that can really help you and motivate you and encourage you to take your next step forward. So enjoy this video. Also, there's going to be a part 2 to this video that I'll post soon, so be on the lookout for that as well.
Loops from websites or other sound pack creators can be a very helpful tool in inspiring you to get started in writing your songs. But sometimes you can fall into the trap of just feeling confined and not knowing where to go when you've already created an idea that is really built on loops that you're currently using. So in this exclusive member breakdown, I'm going to be coming alongside Beat Academy member Gabby as she shares her inspiration for this song, which started from some loops that she came across. I'm going to actually be co-producing and working alongside with her to getting this song across the finish line. I'm going to have Gabby kind of shed a little bit of light as to how she got inspired by using certain loops and why it actually liberated and gave her more freedom than she thought when she started out producing music.
Because of my pride as a beginning producer and just being around so many talented, amazing producers in LA, I really challenged myself to write and produce all of my songs from scratch. I actually had kind of an aversion to loops because I thought, oh, I'm not really doing anything if I just use loops. Like, I have to play everything in. If I use loops, it'll just be for little ear candies here and there. But once I got over that and kind of reprioritized my values, which was I just want to sing. I want to write and I want to sing and I want to record. Production is an amazing gift that you have really helped me to cultivate within myself. But ultimately, I feel the best when I'm singing and I'm writing. And when Aaron, my fiance, just kind of helped in creating these loops and finding these amazing artists that we resonate with sonically and honestly spiritually and emotionally, he framed it in a way that was like, we can treat the Count and Noam kind of like our personal producers. If we're buying their sample packs, we're not working with them directly, but we're using their sounds, we're using their creative energy, and we're fusing all these elements that we love. Then that kind of helped me reframe my relationship to loops and helped me to just be in that space where I wanted to be, which was write, record, and sing.
Okay, so here I am in the session, the same exact way Gabby has left the session. So let's just take a listen from the top and see what we've got.
Sights on my vision. I don't ask for permission. Got a light that I'm not dimming. Better throw on some shades. Perfect in my imperfection. For greatness I am destined. Got the message straight from heaven, and I'm on my way. Oh, I ain't mad, 'cause you're dealing with yourself and all of your own limits. By the way, your perception of me ain't none of mine.
So it's got a really cool, funky type of vibe to it. Definitely some R&B throwback stuff in there with the vocals. And I like the loop. It's pretty cool. Now, as you can see here in the session, she has just a music loop and a couple drums, just like 2 drum tracks and a couple fills. And that's it. And I hope the takeaway that you get from this is it doesn't really take much to be inspired to write, arrange, and record a whole song. But the goal here is how do we then add and how do we create more depth? Because sometimes the problem can be when using loops is, sure, you have great sounding drums, great sounding music, great sounding inspiration that you can add into your projects. But then how do you step away from just being confined or trapped in this box, so to speak? Because add anything else, how do you make it fit in the same sonic landscape as the loops or take something away? How do you then fill it back in with something that had as much presence as the loop had? So that's what we're going to be focusing on throughout this breakdown today. Is I want to add to the current DNA of the song. I want to enhance it, and I don't want to take away from the bones that we have here. So let's focus on a couple of things. Now, immediately, what I'm trying to do is we have a simple music loop, and this is where all the harmonic energy is coming from. Let's solo that. So that's it. We take that away and all we have are the drums.
Keep my sights on my...
So the first thing that came to my mind is we got to do something to change up this verse vibe, the pre-vibe, and I'm okay with leaving the loop the way it is for the chorus. So let's go ahead and duplicate this track. So I've got 2 music tracks here, and the goal being that I want to eliminate the verse and the pre. Or let's do that the other way around. So I'll have the top, well, actually here, let's just keep it like this. We'll leave this one for the chorus music, and I'll call this one verse pre-music. So that means I'm going to eliminate the verse here, and we're only going to have the chorus play. And we'll take away the chorus spots on the top. Now what that's going to do is that's going to help me just kind of focus in on creating some kind of contrast with this loop. Immediately what came to my mind is maybe like filtering it out. So let's go to our audio effects here. I'm going to put a filter on there. Let's see. So we can just have it filtered out in that section.
Keep my sights on my...
But we can add a little bit movement. What if we just like...
Keep my sights on my vision.
So what if I did some automation to that filter frequency? Let me go to the modulators. I'm going to use the Shaper plugin. Now, the Shaper plugin is going to allow me to map any parameter on any plugin and assign it to an LFO. So I'm going to hit the map button, choose filter frequency, and you can see now it's on the go. So let's...
Keep my sights on my vision. I don't ask for permission.
That's kind of cool there. So let me see what that sounds like transitioning.
Keep my sights on my vision.
Let's add a little couple things. So let me lower the amount so it doesn't go full on there. Maybe close this depth here and just bend this up a little bit.
Keep my sights on my vision. I don't...
That's cool. I'm going to move these below the drums. This is just a personal workflow of mine. I want to have my drums first, and I want to have the music or bass line. I usually put the bass or stuff like that after. So now we have drums on the top, and here's this part here. Let's add some reverb, give it some space. I'll put it on the wrong one. Let's go verse. There we go.
My sights on my vision. I don't ask for permission. Got a light that I'm not dimming.
What's cool is I can even automate that quarter note and maybe change the timing in certain parts. So what if right here we made it like every 8th note? Like that right there. So
I'm not dimming. Better throw on some shades. Perfect.
Yeah, so it creates this cool little rhythm, like someone on the keys. Brang, 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 brang. So I'll duplicate that and then see how that works out. As you can see, it's always constantly moving on there. And for the pre, let's repeat the same thing here. I'm gonna copy that, put that there. And then for the pre, I think I can duplicate this track again. And I'll go like this. This will be the pre. This will be the verse only. So let me, but this I'm gonna go maybe a whole octave higher. So 14, and I'll go complex pro. That's all of that. How can I use the actual loop itself to create dynamics in the arrangement? I could try to replay some elements in there, but I'll do stuff like that to emphasize the loop. But what I'm actually going after here is use what I got, but in a creative way to add some dynamics in the arrangement. So there's a little more ebb and flow here. And then I will do like a nice cutoff here, just like have that off there and have the drum fill just kind of take precedence at that section there. So I'm actually just kind of helping to set up each individual section so that it just breathes, the arrangement breathes a little more. Now, I think that's my main focus right now is how can I go throughout the arrangement and create pockets where the song starts to breathe and starts to move a little bit. And then once I do that, I can then now fill in, like obviously filtering this out, I'm not gonna feel the bass as much. So what I do is let's add an EQ, and I'm before the reverb, and I'm gonna probably take some low end away.
Keep my sights on my vision. I don't ask for
and introduce maybe a bass line myself that doesn't have to be as predominant as the chorus bass line. It could, maybe I can add some 808s. I don't know. I'm gonna experiment and see where it goes. But already the contrast between having the loop consistently play for 3 minutes straight and doing this is already gonna cause some contrast between the sections and already changes the arrangement.
keep my sights on my vision. I don't ask for permission. Gotta like that.
So that's cool. Now what I'm obviously gonna put some transition things like some crashes, stuff to introduce each section, because right now it's pretty bland. So let me get to that in a section. Let me just do like I'll look for a crash here. Yep, that's fine. And create an audio track and put it right there. Let me go ahead and sneak this on top here. Put that in with the drums. So, you know, just even having a crash and a downbeat could be a big difference.
Keep my sights on.
So let's copy this over. So I'm gonna move this over, hit the R button so that it reverses that crash. So we have a nice little build to the section. And what I'll do is I'll put that same crash here. So I'll lower the gain. I'll unwarp these crashes. Sometimes when you have these crashes and they're warped, they just sound, they sound stretched beyond their limits. So I'm gonna make sure that these crashes are unwarped so that they're in their raw state. That way, the quality's better, and lower the gain here a little bit and have a louder crash on the return.
Keep my sights on my vision. I don't ask for permission.
And also, yeah, didn't realize we had a fill there. I might not even need the reverse, might give some breathing room to the fill.
Keep my sights on my vision.
Yeah, make sure I put it right there. All right, so let me go throughout the track and start adding some of these nuances throughout the arrangement. And then once I have like some of the structure here with the arrangement of the music loop, I'm gonna start adding instrumentation onto the project. All right, so I've gone throughout the arrangement and I have mapped out with the music loop. I've kind of, I separated the verses that have the automated filter with the shaper, the octave up and being included in the pre. We repeat the same thing here, got the chorus, same thing, verse and pre here. And then for the bridge, I'm not there yet, but I created another track and put the same loop in there. I think maybe for the bridge, we can just drop out the drums because the drums have been going out through the whole thing. So throughout the arrangement, drums are keeping the groove, and we've been changing the actual music loop, tweaking it, and that's giving the contrast for the arrangement. Now, when we get to the bridge, let's reverse that. Let's take away the drums and just do a cool little breakdown for this section. And then we'll see where the vocal goes with that, and then come back into the chorus. So once I've got that mapped out, I'm gonna go ahead, and I was thinking maybe mirroring or just complementing the filtered music loop with, let's say, like a whirly or just some kind of Rhodes. But in this case, I'm gonna be using the Whirly Whirly 5 plugin by Arturia, and just love the sound of that. Maybe follow it up with a little bit of the phaser plugin here by the Bytron. I actually used to have the hardware version of this and would run my synths through it. And I think they did a great job of replicating the type of tone and sound. It's a really cool phaser. So let me go ahead and just mess around and record, kind of playing the same chords as the music loop. I think, yeah, I think that's what's going on there. So I'm gonna play just to kind of help create some more musical depth and dimension by having the Rhodes or Whirly play the chord progressions with that. And let's see where that gets us. All right, so we've got the whirly in place. Now what's missing is a lot of the weight, and that's usually some of the low end, because we're doing some of the filtering stuff now. And even with the music loop itself, I could use a little bit more bottom end. So I'm going to use the wavetable. We're gonna set it to a sine wave and get like a nice little bass line. And essentially what I'm gonna be doing is copying the bass line in the music loop. So went ahead and recorded that. Here it is on its own. So let's see what that does with the rest of the instrumentation. Now I am going to have to craft some space between the kick drum and the bass, but I have also the Moto bass here from IK Multimedia, Moto Bass 1. I've got it set to the 70s P bass. I'm going to experiment. Let's see what sounds better. Just a straight sine wave, no presence there, or we copy this over and have the Moto bass playing it, the Moto bass. I might need to change this a whole octave higher, so we'll select all the notes, hold Shift and the up arrow key. And I have it, like I said, set to the 70s. Let's see what that sounds like instead of the sub bass. So in the sub, I was going back and forth. The sub, it just feels like you feel the bass. With the Moto bass, you can hear a little bit more. It's cutting through, but it also provides a little of that low end. Now I'm going to go into the drums here. I'm going to figure, let's just focus on these drums a little bit here. I'm going to solo that. Gabby's got these two drums going through this drum group here and running through the API 2500, which I do have, but in the U80X and the decapitator. So I'm sensing there's some crunch going on, some distortion happening. So let's start with that. We've got two drum breaks here. We've got the main kick and snare one. And something to notice, the algorithm that you're choosing when it comes to warping does play a big role. You're hearing a lot of that back and forth hiccuping happening. That right there. So if you set it from beats, and this is because the original tempo is at 108 BPMs and we're down at 82. So stretching it down, you're going to get a little bit of that reverse hiccup. So I think she originally had it at Complex or Complex Pro. Now, you don't get as much of the hiccup, but what you end up getting is a little bit of that MP3 compression type sound. So I might actually want to leave it at beats and then just lower the transients. And then what we're going to do, since we have the sub now handling a lot of the low end, let's let the bass carry that. And this other drum break here, it's cool. It's got a lot of cool stuff. Let's clear out some way. I'm going to put the EQ and do the same thing. And let's have this stand out with using some overdrive directly on it. And you know what would be cool is if we used a compressor, and I'm actually going to sidechain the loop to our main loop. So I'll do this. I'll go main drum 1, and I'll leave that there. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to hit sidechain, and I'm going to go, hey, I want you to, every time the kick happens from the main drum 1, kind of duck. And we're going to put the EQ so we can focus on a specific frequency, saying that anything below 200 hertz is what's going to trigger the compressor to cause this loop to duck. So we'll bring it down, bring the gain up. This is without it. That's going to help the kick come a little bit more predominant. And I'll lower this down a little bit. Okay, here's the API. Now these drums are loops. That means they've been compressed, they've been treated, they've already got the sauce on them. So what am I doing with this compressor? I'm making sure that these two loops now are gelling together, because originally when the person created it, they didn't have in mind both loops playing at the same time. So I'm just trying to create this nice energy between the loops here. So I'm not looking to have a strong attack. I'm just trying to just kind of glue these two together. And so I'll dial the threshold, I'll sting it until I hear what it's doing, and then I'll dial back. So yeah, it's going to help the kick, that big snare, where every time it hits, it'll duck it a little bit, bringing the little loop a little bit louder. And then I'll just give it a little bit of makeup gain here. And then let's just give a little bit of crunch. I'm going to use the handy dandy drum bus after that. And we'll start with lowering the dry and wet a little bit and put it on medium. So without these two. And now let's just get a little bit more highs. I want to crispy the drums up a little bit. So I'll put the EQ on. All right, so in this chorus section, at this point, since really the motif of this is working with loops, I'm going to continue with that, and I'm going to drag in Arcade. It's a plugin by Output. Essentially loops that are stapled to the BPM of your project, and you can set the key. I think we're working in D minor, so I have it set here to D minor. Now, two things. I could stumble across something that's really cool, that works well. I'll play over and over, and usually what I'll do is kind of just find a bunch of sounds. I will track them on another audio track and just keep them, right, as colors throwing to the canvas. And, or sometimes I'll come across samples that are really neat, but I don't like the progression. So I would recreate something to kind of match that texture, kind of give you an exploration of what I'm doing here. So let's. So right now I have it set to this, this library here, which is the drip. And we'll cycle through some things and then see if we come across anything. I think that's a cool sound. That could be really cool just to have in the beginning of each thing. So what I'll do is I'll get the audio track underneath it. Let's set this audio track here to receive from the arcade. So external input, go to number 13, arcade. And I'm gonna import enable the arcade so I can record enable this track. So that means that the input monitoring in the arcade allows me to just trigger my MIDI keyboard, and I'm setting the arm to record on the track underneath it. So let's hit record here. So there's some cool stuff I recorded here. Definitely like that sound. So that's a keeper. So we'll slice this. I'm going to create another audio track and put the ones I do like here. And then we'll keep going. A little too dark, so we'll keep moving. You know, I don't have to commit to it, but what I'm essentially doing is just finding sounds that I can then sprinkle all over the place here.